This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah. So in the last session, we have seen what is deterministic model, what is probabilistic model, and what is the need to learn about probability. And to understand the definition of probability, we have introduced set theory and operations on sets, and also we have seen what is sample space and what is event, and different types of events are discussed. Now coming to the basic definition of probability, what exactly the probability is, right? See here, probability can be defined in two ways. First one is classical definition. This definition can be taken from the knowledge of set theory and axioms of the set theory. And the second one is from the concept of relative frequency. First one is a classical definition. For classical definition, we take set theory and axioms of set theory. And the second way to define the probability is by using the concept of relative frequency. And coming to the first one, classical definition. Here, from the classical way, the probability is defined as the ratio of number of favorable outcomes to the total number of possible outcomes from an experiment. What do you mean by favorable outcomes? For example, I'm conducting an experiment. Which experiment? Just simply rolling a die experiment. So in the rolling a die experiment, my interest is to get number 4. So that is my event is getting the number 4 on a die is my favorable event. My event. And total number of possible outcomes, how many are there in the rolling a die experiment? 6 possible outcomes. That may be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, or number 6. So therefore here the probability of getting number 4, that is my favorable outcome, can be defined as what? Ratio of number of favorable outcomes to the total number of possible outcomes. How many number of favorable outcomes in the, take an example, only one. How many number of possible outcomes? 6. Therefore, the probability of getting my favorable outcome is nothing but 1 by 6. That is one way of defining the probability. So here, therefore, what is the classical definition? The classical way, from the classical way, the probability is defined as the ratio of number of favorable outcomes to the total number of possible outcomes from an experiment. And mathematically, you can write it as probability of event A. P of A stands for probability of event A, where A is the event which is taken for favorable outcome, and P of A equal to F by T, favorable by total, right? Classical definition here. Another way also you can take here. So that is, for example, if I take the sample space as S, what is sample space? The sample space is nothing but the set of all the possible outcomes, right? So here, if I take the sample space as S, then I can write this particular probability as number of ways the event can occur by number of outcomes in the S. It is another way to define the probability in the classical way. Here, all the points are equally likely in the sense here when I am throwing a die, all the attempts are equally likely. There is no biasing in the throwing a die experiment. That is, I'm not putting different forces in different attempts. So all the attempts are equally likely attempts. So in such a scenario, I can write as number of ways the event can occur by number of outcomes in the S, right? But here there are some limitations for the classical definition. The limitations are the classical definition fails when the total number of outcomes becomes infinity. That is, if the denominator is infinity, the probability is undefined and always it is equal to 0. So therefore, the classical definition fails when the total number of outcomes are infinity. And at the same time, all the points yes cannot be equally likely in the real time. So why? Because even in throwing a die experiment, we cannot put the same effort every time while throwing a die. So that is in the real time, and we cannot say all the outcomes are equally likely, right? So therefore, in the classical way, even you are able to define the probability, we won't consider in the real time analysis, right? So here is the by using the sets and axioms, we can define the probability in the other way. That is also a classical way. And but here we take the help of sets and axioms of the sets. So in the axiomatic definition, the probability P of A of an event is always a non-negative real number which satisfies the following three axioms. So that is basically the probability is a non-negative value. It cannot be a negative. Always it is a non-negative value. And while defining the probability, and you have to see that the three basic axioms must be satisfied. And the three axioms are: first one, always the probability must be a non-negative value that is greater than or equal to 0. And the second axiom is P of S must be equal to 1. That is, if you define any sample space, that is, after conducting the experiment, if you collect all the outcomes, if you write the sample space, the probability of that particular sample space must be equal to 1. In the sense, so in the other, that is, other thing is, in the other way, I can say that the sample space must consist of all the possible outcomes. In that way, you need to define the probability, right? And the third axiom is, if I define n number of events, say A1, A2, A3, A4, and so on, An. What do you mean by event? N number of events in the sense, in the rolling a die experiment, I can define the event as getting an even number as outcome, getting an odd number as outcome, getting a number 4, getting a number 6. So these are all called events. If I define all such events like A1 to AN, then you have to see that the union of all the events is, if it is considered, the probability of that particular union must be equal to the sum of individual probabilities. So in other way, if I take infinite number of events, and in a simple experiment like throwing a die experiment, the number of events may be less. For example, if I take the real-time experiment, in such a scenario, the events may be infinite. So in that case also, the condition must be satisfied. That is, probability of union of all the events must be equal to the sum of all the individual probabilities. And the subjective condition is here, the events are the sets AI and AJ are disjoint events. Disjoint in the sense mutually exclusive, and there is no common element between these two. That is, getting a 4, getting a 5, These two are disjoint events. Why? Because at a time we cannot get 4 and 5 in a single attempt, right? So the three axioms are always, the first one is always the probability must be a non-negative value while defining the probability, and always the sample space must consist of all the possible outcomes while defining the probability, and always if you define the events in an experiment, the probability of union of all the events must be equal to sum of all the individual probabilities of individual events, right? And other way you can define the probability is probability as a relative frequency. First one is classical definition. Second one is as a relative frequency. The classical, for defining the probability using the classical way, here you have to satisfy first three axioms, and at the same time you can define that as the number of favorable outcomes by the total number of outcomes. But there are some limitations in defining the classical definition, and therefore in the real time we take the analysis by defining the probability as a relative frequency. Relative frequency in the sense what? Here, first, the use of common sense and engineering and scientific observations leads to a definition of probability. I repeat here, the use of common sense and engineering and scientific observation leads to a definition of probability as a relative frequency of occurrence of event. So what do you mean by that? What do you mean by this common sense or engineering or scientific observation? Simple example here. For example, in a class, a particular student is observed. That is, he is coming to the college. That is, for example, on this particular day, I want to estimate. That is, I would like to guess whether the student will come to the class or not. How can I guess? By taking his past data, past history. So in the past 100 classes, how many classes he has attended the class? How many classes he was present? Out of 100, he was present for about 60 classes. Then in the 101 class, can I expect him in the class or not? What is the chance of that particular person coming to the class? How do you verify? Yes, out of 100, the student attended 60 classes, in the sense 60% attendance is there. That is, there is a chance of 60% chance of attending the class, right? So that is 60% chance, or you can also say it as probability as 0.6 probability, 60 by 100. That is, what do you mean by the 60 by 100? That is, for the past 100 days I am taking. That is, that experiment repetition is done for 100 times. For that experiment, attending the class experiment is done for 100 times is considered. If I increase 100 to 200, if I take 200 classes, in the 200 classes, the student attended for about 150 classes. For the past 100, if I consider, if the student attended 60 classes, for the past 200 classes, the student attended 150 classes, then what is the chance of attending the class today? Ultimately 150 by 200. So in the sense, almost 75% chance of attending the class. That is, using the taking the attempts, more number of attempts, I am able to find out the probability. That is called probability as a relative frequency. Use of common sense and engineering and scientific observations leads to the definition of probability as a relative frequency of occurrence of some event, right? Suppose that a random experiment is repeated n times, and if the event A occurs n of A times, just now I have taken, random experiment repeated n times. I have taken example as 200 times. And if the event A occurs n of a times, event A, that is student attending the class, occurs n of a times, that is 150 times. Then the probability of event is defined as the relative frequency of event A when the number of trials n tends to infinity, right? That is the limit n tends to infinity, n of A by n. First case I have taken n of A as 60, n as 100, 60 by 100. I got 0.6. Second case I have taken n of A as 150, n as 200. I got 0.75. Right? So like that, that is, I'm going to decide the probability by taking more number of trials. So almost infinite number of trials I may take to decide the probability of any particular event. Any particular event. That is called defining the probability as a relative frequency. Simple. For example, flipping a coin experiment. Flipping a coin experiment. So in the flipping a coin experiment, how many possibilities I have? I may get head or I may get tail. So just I am attempting to flip the coin. Can you expect the outcome, that is head or tail? How can you expect? You cannot expect. And how can you say there is a chance of getting head? There is a chance of getting tail by this much percentage, or there is a probability of getting hit this much, there is a probability of getting tail this much. How do you decide? From the past data, that is the number of times the experiment is done. For example, here the graph is showed here 20 times. You cannot give the perfect value of the probability. And what is the outcome expecting here? Head. Outcome as head. Figure shows the plot of the relative frequency of heads in a computer simulation of 100 coin flips. Right? 100 times the coin was flipped. And almost finally, I can decide that there is a 50% chance of getting hit. Hit. Why? Because if it is unbiased, ultimately I can say 1 by 2. No doubt at all. If it is unbiased, that is, there is chance equally likely events. The two events are equally likely events. The two attempts are, outcomes are equally likely outcomes. Undoubtedly, you can say 1 by 2 chance. Why? Because no one is just biasing here. There is no bias. Therefore, ultimately, I can say 1 by 2. But in the real time, you cannot say that. So you have to decide the probability by taking more number of attempts. That is called relative frequency, right? Right. So in the analysis process, for any experiment in any application, while analyzing the application by using or for developing the probabilistic model for the application, here we consider mathematical model of experiments. So here mathematical model of experiments can be derived from the axioms of probability introduced. For a given real experiment with a set of possible outcomes, the mathematical model can be derived. How the mathematical model can be derived? See here the steps. First step, whenever the experiment is done, first define the sample space to represent the physical outcomes. Second step, define the events to mathematically represent characteristics of favorable outcomes. First one is all the outcomes. Second one is favorable outcomes, right? And the third one is assign probabilities to the defined events such that the axioms are satisfied. The third case is, first one is sample space, defining the sample space. Second step is defining the events, favorable events in which you are interested. Third one is writing the probability. And while writing the probability, you have to see that the axioms must be met, right? Next, simple example, a problem. Let me give a problem here. Perform the experiment of flipping a fair coin twice and counting the number of heads. What is the experiment here? Flipping a fair coin. That is, the coin is fair. Twice, 2 times you are just flipping and counting the number of heads. What is the probability here? What is the probability? Number of heads. That may be 1 head, no head, 2 heads. What is the probability of getting no head? First, what is the mathematical model? First, mathematical model is defining the sample space. How do you write the sample space here? Whenever the coin is flipped twice, there is a chance that maybe the 2 attempts may give 2 tiles or 2 heads, or 1 tile, 1 head, or 1 head, 1 tile. How many elements are there in the sample space? 4 elements. Tail, tail, head, 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 tail, head. Right? So here, for counting the number of heads may be 0 number of heads, number of heads may be 1, number of heads may be 2, right? So in the attempt, in the experiment, what is the probability of getting no heads? That is, what is the event you are taking here? No heads is the event. What is the probability of getting no heads? Yes, out of the 4 elements, only 1 element is with no head. Therefore, 1 by 4. Next one is what? Second event is what? The count is equal to 1. 1 head. Out of the 4 elements, the 2 elements are with only 1 head. Right? That is TH and HT. Therefore, probability of 1 head is 2 by 4, that is 1 by 2. Next one is what? Probability of 2 heads. 2 heads in the sense what? What is 2 heads? That is 2 heads. So this is what? 2 heads. So that is, how many are there? How many such elements are there? Only 1. So therefore, the probability is 1 by 4. Probability is 1 by 4. Right. So let us try another problem now. Roll a fair die 3 times. What is the probability that all numbers are the same? I repeat, 3 times a roll. What is the probability that all numbers are the same? Same in the sense, maybe 3 dice, 3 times. If you get 1, that is same. 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4, 3 times 5, 3 times 6. So what is the probability that you will get 3 ones or 3 twos or 3 threes or 3 fours or 3 fives or 3 six? How do you write? First, in the mathematical model, first step is writing the sample space. So in the fair die experiment, that is rolling 3 times experiment. So how many possible outcomes you will get? How many possible outcomes? All the possible outcomes must be noted, like 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116. Next 121, 122, like that, right? So how many outcomes are there? 216 outcomes you can expect. So how many favorable outcomes? What is the favorable outcome here? 3 similar numbers, right? 3 similar numbers are same numbers. So therefore, Event is what? Favorable event is with how many elements? 6 elements. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6. 6 elements. So therefore, what is the probability here? This is the probability 6 by 216. The total probability is 1 by 36. This is the way to find the probability of any event in an experiment. In any experiment, right? Let me take another problem. You try it. Perform the experiment of randomly chosen family with 3 children. What is the probability that they have exactly one data? One data. So how many possibilities are there? First, what is the experiment here? Family with 3 children. So what is the experiment? Randomly you have to choose a family of 3 children. That is the experiment. The 3 children sequences. 3 boys, 3 girls. 2 boys, 1 girl. 1 boy. So that is order you have to write. Boy, boy, girl. Boy, girl, boy. Guy, girl, boy, boy. So that is how many possibilities are there? How many possibilities? Total 8 possibilities. Out of the 8 possibilities, what is the sample space? Second step is writing the event. What is the event here? Exactly one data. So exactly one data in the sense, how many possibilities? Boy, boy, girl, or boy, girl, boy, or girl, boy, boy. So in the 3 cases, we have only exactly one data, right? So therefore, 3 by 8 is the probability. I hope you understand. Uh, this is the way to write the probability of the favorable events by developing mathematical model, right? Next one is joint probability. What is joint probability? Let P be a probability measure on some sample space S. Let us take sample space of an experiment as S. And A and B are events. And P is probability. So then we call P of A intersection B as joint probability. A and B are 2 events from the experiment. S is the sample space with all the outcomes, possible outcomes of the experiment. Then joint probability is nothing but P of A intersection B, right? So here we can also write this as P of A intersection B equal to P of A plus P of B minus P of A union B. If A and B are any 2 events, then you can write it as P of A plus P of B minus P of A union B. Or if you neglect the P of A union B, you can also write it as less than or equal to P of A plus P of B. And if I take A and B as mutually exclusive, that is if A intersection B is pi, ultimately P of pi equal to 0. So I repeat, the joint probability of the any 2 mutually exclusive events is absolutely equal to 0. Right? So let us come to some properties of probability. First, probability measure is a function P which assigns to each event a number P of A satisfying. So first property is always the P of A must lies in between 0 and 1. The probability cannot exceed a value of 1 and cannot be a negative value. Therefore, always it will be in between 0 and 1. That's the first property that should be satisfied. The second one is always probability of pi is equal to 0. In fact, pi is also called as impossible event. For the impossible event, is there any probability? Is there any chance of getting that impossible event or an impossible outcome? No, right? So therefore, P of pi is always equal to 0. For example, in the rolling die experiment, What is the probability of getting 7? Yes, 0. Why? Because it is an impossible event. And at the same time, if A and B are disjoint events, you can also write P of A union B equal to P of A plus P of B. Why? Because if A and B are disjoint, A in P of A intersection B is 0. In the previous slide itself, we have seen that relation between P of A intersection B and P of A union B. If P of A intersection B is 0, P of A union B equal to P of A plus P of B. So here, these are basic properties. We can also write some more basic properties of probability. And here, P of A complement. If A is an event, the complement of an event, that is, for example, in the tossing a coin experiment, the event is getting head is an event. Sample space is tail and head. Getting head is an event, let it be A. A complement in the sense what? Getting tail. Getting head is event A. A complement is getting tail. So if P of A is the probability of getting head, definitely 1 minus the probability of A becomes the probability of A complement, that is P of tail. Right? I hope you understand. Next, P of A given B. I'll explain what is that given B in the next slide. Coming slide, I'll explain. So next, this is what we have seen just now. If A is subset of B, then P of A always less than or equal to P of B. That is, the probability of A is always less than or equal to probability of B. Simple. Let us take two events. In the rolling a die experiment, I am defining two events. One event is getting a number 2 on the die is event A. Getting an even number on a die is event B. First, in a mathematical model. So let me define a sample space. What is the sample space in the rolling a die experiment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? Event A. What is event A? How many elements are there? I said getting number 2 on the die. That is 2 is the element of event A. Set A. Next B. What is B? Getting an even number. How many even numbers you may expect? 2, 4, 6. That is, that set is consisting of 3 elements. And A is subset of B or not? Yes, 2 is there in the second B, event B, right? So in such case, first, what is the probability of getting 2? Ultimately, only one element, 2 is one element in the sample space, so therefore 1 by 6. What is the probability of getting an even number here? That may be, if you get 2, even. If you get 4, even. If you get 6, even. So that is 3 elements. That is favorable outcomes are 3. Total outcomes are 6. 3 by 6, 1 by 2. Always 1 by 2 is greater than 1 by 6. That is the property here. If A, B, C, 3 events, then you can write A union B union C probability is P of A plus P of B plus P of C minus P of A intersection B minus P of A intersection C minus P of B intersection C plus P of A intersection B intersection C. So these are the probability properties. So let me take a simple problem related to all the properties. Choose a number at random from the numbers 1 to 100. What is the probability that the chosen number is divisible by either 3, either 2, 3 or 5? So what is the probability? 2, 3 or 5. It may be divisible by 2 or divisible by 3 or divisible by 5. How do you find? So let me take the event A as divisible by 2, getting the number divisible by 2. Another event as getting the number divisible by 3. Another event is getting the number divisible by 5. 3 events you define. So what are you supposed to find here? That may be divisible by 2 or divisible by 3 or divisible by 5. Right? Ultimately, you need to find P of A intersection, B intersection, C. That is C there. First, define the event. What is that event? Divisible by K. K is nothing but any number from 1 to 100. So anyway, we are interested only 2, 3, 5. So let me take A1, A2, A1, sorry, A2, A3, A5. So A2 is probability of A2. What is the probability of A2 here? A2 is what? Divisible by 2. From the numbers 1 to 100, how many numbers that are divisible by 2? All the even numbers are divisible by 2. Therefore, half of the elements are divisible by 2. Therefore, 1 by 2 is the probability or 0.5. 50 numbers out of 100 are divisible by 2. Therefore, 50 by 100. Therefore, the probability is 0.5. Second one, divisible by 3. How many are there? 3, 6, 9, 12, like that we have. So that is total are 0.33. Similarly, P of A5 is 0.2. But I need what? Either 2, either 3 or 5. So first, if I take only either 2 or 3, I can get it as 0.16. Either 2 or 5, 0.1. Either 3 or 5, 0.06. If I combine 3, I can get it as 0.03. You can try it. Or sometimes here you may ask, I may be asked to find the union of A2, A3, A5. So you are supposed to write this one, right? So here, this is all about definition of probability, classical definition, and using relative frequency, and at the same time, developing a mathematical model and problems related to finding the probability by developing the mathematical model. Next class, we'll discuss about conditional probability. Thank you.